Hi class, this video is an overview of the Revit user interface. I'm in Revit 2017, so it may look slightly different than what you have depending upon your version. First of all, let's just talk about what we see here in the window. The first thing I want to show you is the Quick Access toolbar. So up here we have the Quick Access toolbar. The Quick Access toolbar provides access to commonly used commands such as open. So we've got open here, save is right here, undo, redo, dimension, and 3D view. The Quick Access toolbar is easy to customize. You select the arrow at the end of the toolbar, so this right here, and you can check and uncheck any of the items that you want to see. Another one that I like to use is this thin lines. And you'll notice that this will make the drawing look a little less thick, so sometimes you can see things much more easily. You can see it in the video there. You can customize the Quick Access toolbar by right-clicking on any of these things, and then just saying Add to Quick Access toolbar. So if there's a command that you use frequently, you can right-click on it and then just add it. The wall command has already been added. That's why it was grayed out. Right next to the Quick Access toolbar is the Info Center. So the Info Center enables you to quickly search for help on the web. You can specify which help documents to search and collapse the search. You can also sign into Autodesk 360 to access additional online services. So in here you could type a phrase like trim and then hit enter, and what will happen is the help box will come up in the web browser, and it will give you all sorts of help for trimming. So if you don't know how to trim, you can watch a video, you can read something in the forums. There's all sorts of resources for you in there. Signing into Autodesk 360, this allows you to access some more features of Autodesk. You can do this with your Delaware Tech username if you already have an account created. If you don't, just create an account down here. The help button is also up here, so if you ever need help, you can click on that, and again, it's just going to open up the Revit Autodesk, but it has some wonderful videos and other information in there that can help you out. So please feel free to use the help button. You can also press F1. The item over here, this big R as I call it, is called the application menu. If you click on that, you're going to see this is where you can open new documents, save documents, export documents, or print documents. You also have an options box on here, and that options box is going to allow you to do a few different things. It's going to allow you to maybe change how frequently save intervals pop up. It's going to allow you to adjust your user interface, graphics. Some of these things are a little more advanced than what you need to do, but if you definitely want to just at least set these save intervals, or maybe do the file cleanup, or possibly change how frequently your file saves, you can do all of that in this options menu. And there's an exercise you're going to go through, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. The bar up here, this is known as your ribbon. The ribbon contains tools in a series of tabs, so you're going to see the tabs here, and then there's a ribbon for each tab. And those are grouped by function. So you can see that architecture contains walls and doors and ceilings, things you would need to build architecturally. Structure is going to have structural elements like your beams and your columns. System's going to be like your mechanical and electrical systems. Insert will be things like inserting maybe a CAD file. And annotation will be those dimensions and annotations you can add. I won't go through all of them, but you can get the point. One thing I do want to show you, as you go into one of these ribbons, say the wall command, when I click on the tool, you're going to notice that a green toolbar popped up underneath here. And this is called the options bar. So it's options related to that wall command, meaning there's some things information I have to put into Revit in order for the wall to draw correctly. I have to tell it what's the height of the wall. Where do I want the location line for the wall to be? So right now it's on wall center line. So if I draw this wall, you can see that blue line, the blue dashed line in the middle of my wall right here. It's drawing from the center of the wall. Now this could create a problem if you're trying to draw a building with certain dimensions because it's measuring from the center line to the center line. Okay, so maybe you might have to choose finish face exterior, which then measures the wall from the exterior of the wall to the exterior of the wall. And let me just show you what I mean a little bit more. So let's say that I wanted to draw a wall that was, I'm going to go back to wall center line, 40 feet. So I'm going to move my mouse over and I'm going to type 40 feet on my keyboard and hit enter. And then I'm just going to hit escape. Now I'm going to maybe draw something that's 30 feet. So 30 feet and then enter, and then I'm going to go back over. So this is all with wall center line. So now if I dimension this, and I dimension to the wall face, so to the outside of the wall, notice it's actually 40 feet 8 inches because this wall is 8 inches thick. So it's taking the thickness of the wall, half of the thickness of the wall on each side into account because it drew from the wall center line. Now if I draw from the finish face exterior and I draw the same 40 feet by 30 foot rectangle, now if I measured this from the wall face, you're going to see that it's actually 40 feet. Okay, so make sure that when you start drawing walls, this is one of the biggest things that students run into, is they don't check to make sure that they're drawing from the finished face exterior and they're drawing from the wall center line, and then they have to go back and change all the dimensions. So that is going to be really helpful for you in the future. You're also going to notice that when you're in this command, I'm in the wall command, I have a modify toolbar which allows me to modify some of the elements, and I'm going to go through that in another video. Other things that we have here are the properties palette. So the properties palette, you can make extensive modifications to views and elements. If nothing is selected and you're not in a command, the properties palette displays options for the current view. So right now I'm in floor plan view because I don't have anything selected. So these are all options for my floor plan view in here. Now if I click on a wall, you're going to see that the options for the wall come up inside of my properties box. It's like in AutoCAD when you right click on something and say properties, except for that it's there all the time and we need to use it to adjust the height of our walls and some other elements in our walls. So we're really going to be typing a lot of information as well as drawing information. Notice that items that are grayed out in here are read only, so you cannot access those. With the wall selected, you're also going to notice in the properties box that I have this box up here with the arrow. This is called the type properties. So the type properties is saying what type of wall is it. Okay, so this is where I can change my wall type. I could come in here and scroll and say I wanted that to be brick, or I could scroll and say I wanted this to be 12 inches, and it's going to change that wall type. Now notice that right now I can't really see the specifics of that wall type. And it's because down here, my detail level is set to coarse. So on my view control panel, I need to set my detail level to fine, and you're going to see that it allows me to see more detail about that wall. So learning or taking what we've learned in previous classes, you know that the hatch for brick is this diagonal hatch. So that should always be pointed to the outside. Sometimes when you're drawing, you accidentally draw walls the wrong way, and the exterior material is on the inside like this. Well, it's up to you to be able to recognize that, oh my, I have that on the wrong side, and I need to click on the wall and then use these arrows to flip it. Now, if you're not real familiar with the hatch patterns, the other way to do this is to always look at your drawing in 3 dimensions. So remember, you're drawing a model at all times with 3D. So this is correct because all this material is on the outside of the wall. But if I went back to my floor plan view and flipped it and then looked at it in 3D, you could say to yourself, that doesn't look right, this is not on the right side. So always make sure that you're flipping between the 2 views and also between your elevation views so that you can ensure that your model is drawn correctly. Inside of this type command box, I can actually edit my wall structure by clicking Edit Type. And this is going to be an assignment that you will run through. So I won't go into it much further, but just to say you can edit the type of structure. The other box that we see is our project browser. Our project browser contains all of our views. So right now I'm on the level 1 view. Level 1 is associated with the elevation. Let me show you. I'll double click on the north view. So here you see a view called level 1. Level 1 is, I could rename this and call it first floor. And then I have a view called level 2. These lines right here are called datum lines. They're level datums, and they're defining how many levels I have in my project. So if I wanted to make a new level, say level 3, I would have to create a new datum line, and then it would create a new view inside of my project browser. So everything is connected. Again, we're always thinking about this in 3 dimensions and not just as a flat drawing. Level 1 shows the first floor level. Level 2 will show the second floor level. And then we have a site button, which would show anything that we have on the site, topography, anything like that. Ceiling plans are going to show our ceiling. Right now it doesn't have anything in here, so this isn't the best example. Here we go. This is a better example. So now you can see here, if I look at my ceiling plans, it will only show the ceiling for those buildings. I have 3D views in here. You can create more 3D views. You can create camera views. And then I have specific elevations inside of this. I also can view my families in here, so any type of annotation will be loaded in, and I can view my groups, so anything that I put together in a group, and I'll go through that a little bit later, as well as schedules and sheets. If you want to create a new sheet, you would just click on this, right click, and say New Sheet. Now say you loaded something to your project browser, but you can't find it in there. You can actually click on Views, right click, and say Search, and then search for the sheet. So maybe I'm looking for a life safety sheet. It doesn't look like it's finding anything. So I don't have a life safety sheet, but maybe I'm looking for a north elevation, or a south elevation, or how would I say a level 2? Okay, so now you see it has a match to that because it says next. So I could go next and it will show me where that level 2 is located. This area in between these markers right here is called the drawing area. So you should always draw in between these markers. And these are known as exterior elevations. So what they're doing is actually, you can see once I click on it, it says building elevation. They're defining the north, south, east, and west elevations. So if you don't draw in between those arrows, you won't have an elevation for your building. So for example, if I had this building moved out here and I tried to look at the north elevation, it may still be there, south will still be there, but I may be missing, yes, the east or the west because it's outside of that area and it can't see the building. So make sure that you're always drawing in between these elevation markers. If your building becomes too big, you can draw a window around the elevation markers and then you can drag it away so that it still fits inside of that window. You may want to even those up, but always draw between that drawing area. As mentioned before, this bar down here is called the View Control Bar. And what this allows us to do is to change how we're looking at our view. You could change the scale of the drawing here. You can change the detail level, which this really only matters in plan views, and you can change the graphic display options. So I could change it to hidden line, and now notice all the color is removed from my building. Or if I put it back on shaded, it adds the colors back. If you use something like realistic, it tries to partially render the building and show you what that might look like as a rendered object. You can also turn your sun and your shadows on and off inside of this drawing, which will allow you to generate realistic renderings later on. The other thing that's down here is our crop region, which I will show you that, and a little bit later in the lesson. And then our hidden elements, which is going to be another video. And the last thing to look at here is our status bar. So this status bar is going to tell us if we need to do something or how to work some of the commands. So you always want to look down here. There are also type commands and shortcuts in Revit, which you're welcome to use, and your book notes those. But for the most part, I usually just click on the icons up here in the window. So that's an introduction to Revit. the user interface. In the next video, we'll talk about some tips and tricks.